You want to conceal carry. It's a dangerous world out there. You never know what you're going to run into. But when it comes to conceal carry, there's a lot of information out there, and maybe it might be a little bit overwhelming. So in today's video, I'm going to try to narrow down 5 very important things you're going to want to consider before you start conceal carrying. And hopefully with this video, it can make it a little bit more comfortable for you and just optimize your system a little bit more so you're going to carry more often. Guys, thank you so much for clicking on the video. I really appreciate it. If you enjoy what I have here for you today, please feel free to like and subscribe. It helps me out a lot, makes me feel good about myself. Nevertheless, we're gonna jump right into those 5 things. So the first thing we're gonna wanna consider when it comes to conceal carrying is the actual gun that we are carrying, right? Sounds obvious. We wanna focus on the gun a little bit. Now, when it comes to conceal carrying, a lot of times people take the conceal part of it super literally, right? And very seriously. Yes, we're concealed carrying. We don't want people to know we have a gun on us. But a lot of times people will focus on getting the smallest gun possible. And that just may not be the best fit for everybody, right? I'm guilty of this myself. When my first concealed carry gun was a Taurus G2C, the gun worked. It was, it worked for me, but it was a piece of shit. It shot like shit. It was small. I just wasn't a big fan of it. Well, my buddy who I would go shoot with a lot, he had a Glock 19. And so we would go shoot together, have fun at the range. I'd shoot my Taurus G2C, then I'd shoot his Glock 19. And I enjoyed shooting the Glock 19 so much more. It was a bigger gun. But for me at the time, I was focused on concealability more than anything. And a Taurus G2C isn't the smallest gun out there. A lot of times when you get into these really small guns, they may not shoot as well, especially depending on the round they shoot. Like if you're getting a smaller gun that shoots 9mm, it might be a little bit more snappy, especially if you're a first time gun owner. It can be a lot more difficult for you to shoot. With these smaller guns, we may not be able to get the best grip on them that we can. A lot of times with small guns, people's pinkies are hanging off. You're not getting the full grippiness of the gun. And we want to focus on the grippiness. Grippiness is important. But anyway, we are going to want to focus on shootability as well as concealability. A lot of times when it comes to bigger guns, they are going to shoot a little bit better and they're going to be a little bit easier for you to be able to control and just shoot well with time, okay? So we do want to be concealable with our firearm, but we also want to make sure our firearm is pretty shootable and we're training with it and all that stuff. And I'm going to get into that a little bit later, of course. Focus on shootability as well. Guys, a good way for you to do this is before you get your concealed carry gun, maybe go to a range that they have rentals and rent a couple of guns and see what feels good for you to shoot. Try them out, shoot a couple, like 50 rounds through each, and just kind of see what you enjoy shooting a little bit more. Maybe you do like the smaller gun, more power to you. Awesome. But you're going to find more than likely that the bigger guns are just going to feel better to shoot, and we can still conceal them very well. Concealability, shootability. Focus on those two. Very important. So guys, the next thing that we are going to really want to consider is our holster choice. So first I'm going to go through materials of holsters, right? A lot of times you'll find holsters are going to be either made out of Kydex or they're going to be made out of leather. I'm going to tell you right now, avoid leather holsters, stay away from them. Yes, they are really cool. They look awesome. No one's going to argue that with you. But the problem with leather holsters is as you're wearing them, you will sweat, they will get wet. And when that happens, they start to warp. And a lot of times if you're going to reholster your gun while you're training with it, you will find that sometimes that warped leather with time will end up in the trigger guard. And that's how we cause an ND. An ND is a negligent discharge. That means you're shooting the gun when you didn't really mean to. And when you're reholstering a gun, that can be a problem because you're probably pointing it back at yourself. Stay and stick with good quality Kydex holsters. A couple of good brands for these Kydex holsters are going to be Tier 1 Concealed, T-Rex Arms. Those are both great holsters. They'll run anywhere between like 75 and 150 bucks. Very much worth it. And a lot of times with these holsters, you get additional capabilities and additional features that are going to be really awesome, such as a little claw. What this claw does is it pushes up against your belt, and it's when it does that, it's going to push the holster back into your body. This is going to help with concealability. You're going to want to stick with something that has a claw on it. And then also too, another very important thing is going to be your holster position. Okay, there's 5 common positions. One of them really isn't a position. These are going to be appendix carry, which means you're going to be carrying the gun at your 12 o'clock, right? So right in front of you, it's going to be hanging over your crotch. The 3 o'clock position, which is going to be at your side, or if you're a left-handed shooter, technically it's the 9. It's going to be at your left side. You have the 6 o'clock position, which is going to be in the small of your back. And then you're going to have pocket carry, which just means you're carrying a gun in your pocket. And then you have off-body carry. I would try to steer clear of off-body carry, pocket carry, and then 6 o'clock. The reason why we want to steer clear of 6 o'clock is just because if you bend down, your shirt's going to ride up or whatever you're wearing, and then it's going to show that gun. Kind of the whole point of concealed carrying is to not let everyone know that we got a gun. So stay away from that. Pocket carry sucks because a lot of times when it comes to your pocket size, the gun just won't fit right. And then when people do that, you should have a pocket carry holster, but people just don't most of the time. So we kind of open up the chance to shoot ourselves in the leg. We don't want to shoot ourselves in the leg. It sucks. No one does. No one wants to do that. So stay away from that. Off-body carry, though, is when you're carrying with some type of bag and the gun isn't directly on your person. A lot of times, my ladies out there, they'll carry in their purses, and we want to try to avoid doing that. And the reason why is, me personally, I would lose my head if it wasn't attached. A lot of people steal purses. A lot of people leave their purses and they end up getting stolen or whatever it might be. If you do not want to carry on your person, avoid carrying in a purse for my ladies. Instead, I would recommend that you get an actual bag that's meant for concealed carry. A lot of times these bags will have some type of Kydex holster in them, or you can purchase one to put in there and it'll Velcro in there. These bags will also have like pull straps so you can easily get to the gun itself without having to unzip it. Off-body carry really isn't recommended unless your use case calls for it, but steer clear from it as much as you can. And then if you are doing off-body carry, I also recommend don't be a nerd and don't be cringy. Don't put a bunch of fucking patches and stickers on it. It just looks retarded. You want to avoid that because you're just giving yourself away. So if you are going to get a bag for concealed carry, make sure it doesn't stick out like a sore thumb. It's going to be very important. The third thing we're going to really want to consider is going to be upgrades for the gun itself, right? Guys, you cannot buy skill. This is very important to understand. Yes, it's really cool, at least for me, researching all the different type of things I can put on my gun. But if you are new to concealed carry, I would strongly advise against it, at least until you have a decent amount of training and a decent amount of rounds fired through your gun. The reason why is because a lot of folks just think that, okay, I'm not so good at shooting. It's my first time really shooting as much as you should be, right? You aren't making yourself a better shooter by just buying stuff that you think is going to make you a better shooter. The way you become a better shooter is by going out to shoot. Avoid putting certain upgrades on your gun. Now, some things that are going to be okay for you to put on your gun are going to be things like flashlights. A lot of times, if you are dealing with a situation, a lot of bad shit happens at night. You're going to want to see what you're shooting at, especially if you're going to keep it in your house and you hear a bump in the night. So flashlight is okay, but I would steer clear of anything that is going to compromise the reliability of your gun, right? A lot of internal parts and things like aftermarket triggers, barrels, recoil springs, compensators, they're all cool, and guns can run reliably with these things on them, right? But we want to avoid them just because if you are not shooting as much, we want to make sure that the gun is going to work every single time and we're not compromising it also, once you shoot enough, you're just going to get used to how it feels. Maybe, I mean, it's scary if it's your first time shooting, right? These triggers, these recoil springs, you just need to learn to get used to the gun and how it shoots. And then after you have vetted it, you've shot it a bunch, it's all broken in and everything, then you can put some of that stuff on there. But I would still avoid like upgrading the internals. And then some other things that would be good would be a red dot. Red dot isn't bad, especially if you're an older individual and you just have bad eyesight. A red dot's just going to be a lot easier for you to see. At least it is for me. I had really bad eyesight. Red dot helped me out a lot with that. I was still able to shoot well with iron sights. And my buddy got a red dot and I was like, cool, I'm going to get one now. The fourth thing we're going to really want to think about, and this is probably the most underrated thing, is going to be our clothing. A lot of times when people are new to conceal carrying, they aren't used to the feeling of the gun on their person, and their clothes will reflect that, and it will make it a lot harder for you to carry if you wear certain types of clothing, okay? I was someone who liked to wear a lot of active wear. I was always in the gym, and I would always wear like sweats and shorts and shit like that, right? Doesn't really work when you're carrying a gun unless you have spandex for your shorts and not the little drawstring thing. It's just not gonna work. If you do that, the gun is gonna be very uncomfortable for one, and then it's gonna ride down because all the weight, the shorts just won't be able to support the weight. So guys, you're probably gonna have to change up your wardrobe a little bit just so you can comfortably and safely carry a firearm, okay? I strongly recommend when it comes to pants, jeans, and then when you get your jeans or like cargo pants, but you look like a tool with those, get a couple inches bigger than your natural waist size. I wear a size 30, but I buy size 32 pants all the time just because when I'm carrying a gun, that extra room in there just makes it so much more comfortable so the thing isn't freaking squeezing me. And, you know, it will just be easier for you to carry if you have a little bit more room in there. Now, when it comes to shirts, try to steer clear of shirts that are just kind of plain. So it's just like a plain color, and like black too, especially, because it's going to cause the gun to print a whole lot more. We want to avoid the printing just because, hey, world, I got a gun. You don't want to set yourself up right like that. So what I would recommend is that you either wear baggier clothing, you wear patterned shirts, so like flannels. Flannels are going to be really nice because it's just going to break up the pattern of that gun. And then also hoodies. Hoodies are great. I know if it's hot, you don't want to do that. I would try to focus on the flannel or just something a little bit more baggy. But we are going to want to wear something with some kind of pattern and nothing that's going to be too tight. I'm sorry for my guys that like to wear medium tees. I feel you, but kind of got to change it up as much as you can. Also, something that's going to be incredibly important is going to be our belts. A lot of times when people are carrying, they neglect their belt. It's important for you to get a good, rigid belt that can support the weight of the gun along with your pants. It makes it so much easier and a lot more comfortable because a lot of times, these belts that are made specifically for concealed carry, they have some type of ratcheting system that will allow you to adjust how tight that belt is on the fly. So if you're sitting down, you can just loosen it up a little bit and you'll be a lot more comfortable. And before you stand up, you ratchet that hoe down and then you're good and it's tight and everything. Clothing, you might have to change up your outfits a little bit. You know, it is time for a change. So guys, the fifth and final thing that we're going to really want to consider and pay attention to is going to be training. Training is incredibly important. It's the most important thing on this list, in my opinion. No matter what gun you get, no matter what kind of holster you get, you should still train. You're responsible for every single round that comes out of that gun. And so we have a responsibility as gun owners to make sure that if we do have to use our firearm, we are doing it safely and we're not endangering anyone else or ourselves. Other than the person trying to hurt us, of course. Vibe check them, but everyone else. We're not in Chicago. There's a million different resources on YouTube that you can use to learn how to train effectively. A couple of those are going to be dry fire. Dry fire is really, really important because maybe you don't have a range that allows you to draw from your holster. If you don't know what dry fire is going to be you take all the ammunition out of the gun, remove your magazine, you check your chamber, make sure there's nothing in there. You put it all in another room so nothing happens. You practice drawing from the holster and pulling the trigger on the gun. You do it in a safe direction. What this allows you to do is get used to your draw, and you get used to pointing the gun where it needs to go. So I would recommend, if you are dry firing, find a little point in your room or on your wall or something, whatever it might be, and practice aiming at that. And then just keep doing that. Don't stop, like clockwork. Do it like 15, 20 minutes a day if you can. So that will just allow you to get used to the draw. It will allow you to get used to pulling the trigger, and then you'll get faster with time. And also, if you have a holster where there is a spare magazine, or you have a spare magazine pouch in there, practice your reloads. Make sure there's no ammunition in it, but practice your reloads too. It's going to be really important. If you do have a range that allows you to draw from the holster, or you just have a lot of land or something private, I strongly recommend a shot timer as well. Because what a shot timer will allow you to do is just see how fast you're doing it. Don't focus on speed as much in the beginning. Focus on making sure you can acquire your target and you have a good trigger pull. And as time goes on, then you can focus about the speed, okay? Also, something I'm gonna strongly recommend is snap caps. What snap caps are they're little fake rounds, and you can practice malfunction drills at the range. You'll be able to load a couple of those snap caps in your gun. Obviously the gun won't go off because they're not actual rounds. And then you can practice malfunction drills through that, okay? If you don't have snap caps and you're balling on a budget, what I do, or what I used to do, is I would take some casings that I've already shot, just throw them in the mag, and it would pretty much jam my gun up pretty good, and I'd be able to practice malfunction drills from there. Your training is the most important thing. Doesn't matter what gun you get, as long as you train, you're gonna be proficient. So real quickly, those 5 things we're gonna wanna consider are gonna be the gun choice, our holster and holster position, not buying skill with upgrades, our clothing, and then training. Those are gonna be the 5 most important things to consider. Guys, some other ones that you might hear getting thrown around out there are gonna be being physically fit and being physically able to fight and get someone away from you. This one is incredibly important because if you are in a self-defense situation, you might have to create some kind of distance so you can get to your firearm, or just to create distance to run away, right? We want to try to avoid shooting as much as we can. We want to run and get out of there. And if we can't, shoot. Learn to fight. It's going to be really important. This is kind of going to be my little bit of advice to give to y'all, but learning to fight is going to be incredibly important. It helps you build your confidence. It's going to help you in a lot of different ways. It's going to help your ego, because the second you walk in a fighting gym, no matter how big and tough you think you are, kind of realize you're not that guy until you turn yourself into that guy. Also, ladies love it, man. Ladies love it. So learn to fight, be physically fit. Guys, that does it for me. I really appreciate y'all watching this video. If you like what I had for you today, please feel free to like and subscribe. I love it. You guys are the absolute best. If there's anything you think I missed, please leave it in the comments below. And that does it for me. I love y'all. God bless you guys. Stay safe.